So let me take this opportunity to define for you, simply and straightforwardly, what democratic socialism means to me. It means building on what Franklin Delano Roosevelt said when he fought for guaranteed economic rights for all Americans. And it builds on what Martin Luther King Jr. said in 1968 when he stated, and I quote, "This country has socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor," end of quote. My view of democratic socialism builds on the success of many other countries around the world who have done a far better job than we have in protecting the needs of their working families, their elderly citizens, their children, their sick, and their poor.
Has to do with the fact that in the Soviet Union, if you want to buy an automobile, there is a 10-year wait. And you go through quite a process when you're ready to buy, and then you put up the money in advance. So there was a young fellow there that had finally made it, and he was going through all the bureaus and agencies that he had to go through and signing all the papers, and finally got to that last agency where they put the stamp on it. And the man then that had made the final stamp of the paper, taking the money, said, "All right, come back in 10 years and get delivery of your car." And he said, "Morning or afternoon?" And the fella said, "Well, 10 years from now, what difference does it make?" He said, "The plumber's coming in the morning."
The only way in which you can redistribute effectively the wealth is by destroying the incentives to have wealth. And the question is, what is the way, what is the system which will offer those people who are so unlucky as to be born without good positions, what is the system which will offer them the greatest opportunity?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sheep Kashir podcast, where here we talk about people, politics, and popular culture. I'm your host, the one and only Austin Creed. Let me adjust this camera real quick. This is reprehensible. Anyways, my friends, I think you can guess what the show today is about. Socialism, if you couldn't pick up what I was putting down. So, socialism is, you heard three different people talk about socialism, one of which was Bernie Sanders, the ever-esteemed so-called democratic socialist, which is just a code word for he's a communist, in my opinion. But my friends, I want to explore this because when it comes down to it, what are your thoughts about socialism? What's your thought about giving money, the rich giving more, while the poor give what they can, which is pretty much nothing? If you look at it, we really have already a pretty socialistic country already, because the poor don't give much, and the rich give a lot, but the people at the top of the pyramid, they give next to nothing. That's why you hear about these people who pay no taxes. This is not an accident. Now, I say socialism is evil. I know I'm not the first person to say that, but I want to take this on more of a different trajectory. And yes, it does horrible things for people. That's number one. Number two, just look at what Ronald Reagan said. Ronald Reagan talked about how socialism you have to wait for 10 years to get pretty much anything done. My friends, I've heard stories from the old Soviet Union about how people would fight over a salami in a damn butcher store. Now tell me what kind of world it is you want to live in where you're fighting over a salami in a butcher store. Most people go in the supermarket and they can't even imagine how many options they have. That's because of capitalism, not Bernie Sandersism, not his fake democratic socialism, not communism, not socialism. Look, make no mistake about it, my friends. Socialism can take multiple different variations. We've seen them throughout the world, and we continue to see them even now. But when you look at the past, there tends to be a little bit of revisionist history. Namely, when it comes to Germany in the 1930s. Yes, I know, I'm going to mention it. The word Nazi, N-A-Z-I, in German stands for National Socialism. Yes, you heard me right. Socialism. Now, FDR was a socialist, by all definitions. George W. Bush was a physical socialist. Stalin was a socialist. But Hitler was as well. So, you could tell by all four of the people that I mentioned, obviously they're very different men. I mean, there's no need to go into details as to why. Pick up a history book if you don't know. But there are multiple different variations of socialism. But the one thing they tend to all have in common is the idea of going back to what Karl Marx said. Karl Marx had a slogan about to each according to their needs and each according to their ability. In other words, everyone should receive what they need, and people need to give what they can. If you can give a lot, you should give a lot. But if you can't give a whole lot, you shouldn't have to give a lot. In other words, the rich are penalized for being successful, and the poor are glorified for being have-nots. The haves are punished, and the have-nots are praised. In plain English. Now, I know you don't hear it explained like that, because if you explain it like that, then it sounds really bad and sounds stupid. But I'm going to go a step further. It's not just stupid, it's evil. Why do I say that? Well, if you've ever read anything about Napoleon Hill, he kind of dives into this concept as well. But what is evil? Okay, we can go on and take this in a little philosophical direction, because religion and politics and philosophy, they're all different flavors of the same candy, as far as I'm concerned. Evil stems from sin. Sin is transgression of the law. That law can be God's law, nature's law, it's transgression of the law. That's what sin is, right? So sin leads to evil. So if you take from the rich and you give to the poor, which is what socialism basically is, how is that not evil? How is that not a sin? Sin is transgression of the law. Name me one other animal in the animal kingdom, I'm not aware of them if they exist, who allow the bums, the deadbeats, the have-nothings, animals who go out and hunt, scavenge, take all their food and give it to the bums. They give it to the weak. They give to the bums. I'm not saying those people need to be left out in the cold. What I'm saying is they don't need to be given what they have today, because you make no mistake about it. You make no mistake about it. The rich pay so that the poor can vote for the Democrat Party or for whoever will give them a raise. Back in old Rome, there was a saying of the people will vote themselves a raise. The Caesars would tax the people, their grain, and they would take that same grain, turn it into bread, and throw the bread to the people during the games in the Colosseum. And the people would say, "Oh, hail Caesar, Caesar's great." But what they didn't know was they were getting a portion of what they'd given the government. In other words, they were getting what was already theirs to begin with. But in the United States of America today, you look at food stamps, EBT, WIC, affordable housing, all this stuff. It is the rich paying for the poor, so the poor can vote for the Democrats or the Republicans in some cases as well. The politicians will take the people's money to buy public votes. They take public money to buy votes. Instead of giving them a $100 bill at the ballot box, they give them $100,000 in food stamps, EBT, WIC, and etc. That's how they do it. That's why socialism is evil, because it takes from those who work and gives to those who don't work, who are bums, who are lazy, and who are addicted to drugs or anything else. It gives it to the people who don't deserve it. But the government is more than happy to give it to them, because if they do, they will vote Democrat. They will vote for them. If you promise something to somebody for free, why would they not take it? I mean, let's just be honest. If somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey, do you want $100?" and you said, "What's the catch?" and they said nothing, you're probably going to take the $100, right? Of course you would. Everybody would. That's the point, though. They will give you something, but then they'll threaten to take it away if you don't vote for them. Oh, the Republicans are going to repeal food stamps or welfare or Obamacare. You have to vote for us, the Democrats, so they don't repeal and take away your rights. You ever sound familiar? Yeah, that's because that happens all the time. Happens all the time. And that's why you see guys like Bernie Sanders, and they're scum, in my opinion. Because they're demagogues and they're lying. They don't tell you that we don't live with infinite money. No one ever has, and no society ever will. You can't just keep printing money. The more you do, the less valuable it becomes. That's what inflation is. We don't live on the gold standard anymore. Nixon took us off the gold standard a while ago. We don't live in that world anymore. But yet we seem to be able to give away money to everybody and their grandma without repercussion. How is that possible? Answer, it's not. And that's why socialism is evil. Because it masks it as if you're doing it because you're a nice person, when in fact you're just a nice liar. And you want to screw people over and get votes and stay in power. That's what happens in socialist countries. The people at the top of the pyramid have everything, and everybody else has basically nothing. There's no middle class in socialism or communist countries to a large extent. Because they take the money. And even if it works for a short period of time, Margret Thatcher famously said that the problem with socialism is it stops working once you run out of other people's money. Yeah, she said the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money. Yeah, that's right, because that's exactly what happens. Money, the gravy train eventually runs out. This universe is finite, its resources finite, and yet we're supposed to have infinite money? No, that doesn't work that way. That's why socialism is evil, because it lies to you into thinking that you deserve everything for nothing when no one has ever had that in the history of the world. And the only reason you believe that is because the politicians want you to believe that so that they have more power. So that they can continue to lie to you while they rob the treasury blind and become the top of the pyramid. And before you know it, they pull the rug out from underneath you and you're stuck with nothing. They've sucked all the money out of the system and now they have everything and you have nothing. They want you to believe that you have everything for nothing, well, until they have the everything and you have the nothing. And then the naked reality stares you right in the face. You probably never heard it explained like this before. Well, now you have. You're welcome. My friends, what are your thoughts on this? By the way, excuse the change in background on my camera, by the way, but my family is going through a bit of a move. I'm going through a bit of a move. I'm going back to school soon. Whatever. It's not your business. But at the end of the day, my friends, this is why I think socialism is evil. Because it subverts the natural law. And it's all based on a lie. As that the rich are evil and the poor are somehow good. No, in fact, the opposite is true. You had to work hard. I'm not saying that they're good people. I'm not saying every rich person is a good person. I'm saying that they had to produce something for humanity. What has the poor person produced other than hot air and complaints? Answer, nothing. What does the rich produce? Probably a lot of jobs. I'm not making a moral judgment. I'm saying they're good for society. They're good for civilization. My friends, I want you to leave your thoughts, your comments, your questions, criticisms if you think they're valid in the comments, whether it's on my Twitter page, Cheap Get Cheered, or you can leave it in the comment section of YouTube or Rumble, wherever it is. I would like to hear what you have to say. But until that time, God bless you, God bless your family, God bless America. We're out of here. Remember, socialism is evil. And if you have anything of substance to say to the contrary, please, I look forward to hearing it. Peace.